Okay, there's Andre. Andre, I think we can start. I'll just keep an eye out and make sure everyone can get in. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so is this the introduction part?
Yes. Okay, so maybe I'll say thank you everybody for joining us today. Yeah, and it's incredible to see all the faces this morning. Yes, so hopefully we're gonna get some really interesting insights from Dr. Price, and Andre is going to just use him for us,
Great.
What's going on and when it's going
Good morning, everyone, and welcome from our side as well. And yes, it's an honor to introduce to you Dr. Bill Price. I've known him for quite a couple of years now, and he's been part of COMENSA and also part of my committee at COMENSA, where we really go about the standards, the criteria, everything like that, as you've probably got to know us as well, for that, and the behavioral standards. So he was really, before he was also the committee chair, and he was part of creating a lot of these behavioral standards and in certain work groups and stuff, so very involved as well. And he's also got his own practice where he also trains leadership and neuroscience and everything like that. So I always draw a lot from his knowledge, and I can just say that I'm sure he's going to add a lot of value for you this morning. And over to Dr. Bill Price. Bill, welcome.
Andre, thank you very much for that lovely introduction. It's always a privilege and pleasure. Andre is, he falls under the category of a good friend. And I just love his presence in my life and enjoy it. So welcome, everyone. I'm going to be sharing with you passionately, I hope, in my meditation this morning, in preparing my day. So because my model of coaching, so I use the COMENSA competencies, and I use them in a different way. I don't look at personality. So the mistake that I used to make years ago in coaching was that I'm coaching personality. So I put them through the Enneagram, and I put them through the DISC, and I put them through the 16PF. And to me, personality was everything. As a counseling psychologist, lecturer, where I started off with. And then I went through a burnout in my life and didn't know who I was or where I was. And one day I was driving in the car and I was just telling Hendrik, I kind of shouted out to God, who the hell am I? And I just had this inclination to go and see my Afrikaans brother-in-law. His name is Yuri, who's a lieutenant in the drug squad in the police. But when he hugs me, my head goes into his chest. So you weet hoe groot is die man. And I get to his house. He throws me a bottle of beer from the kitchen. I grab it and open it. He throws me the TV remote and says, wait for me, I'm coming there now. And I switch on the TV, which is a miracle for me to know which button to press. I'm technological, but I'm really working hard on that. And immediately up comes the National Geographic, a picture of Mount Everest, Edmund Hillary in the front, and his Sherpa, his mountain guide, Norgay Tsuneng. And the voice of the narrator says, and here's Edmund Hillary after his third and successful attempt of the climb. He's going down the mountain to go back to London to be knighted by the Queen. And Tsuneng is going back to the village to take the next leader up to the summit. And I suddenly realized, okay, so that's who I am. I'm a guide. I've written it into my branding that I guide leaders and their teams to their personal life and business summits in their lifetime. So I'm glad that I'm part of a group that is called a mountain guide. So I'm sharing with you my style of how I coach, and I'm sharing with you the possibility, because I'm about to advertise this as a course for financial advisors. So my marketing team are getting ready to help me, and if you folks are interested, I'm not pushing this as a sell, but if you could think of wanting to add value, you can get huge discounts by referrals, etc., etc. But that's a thing that we'll talk about later. Hendrik and I will talk about that later. But my goal is not to sell you today. My goal is to impress you, to help you make a shift in your thinking about who the hell are you coaching. So personality is, if you could imagine yourself sitting in a school hall and you're watching your son and daughter on stage, but they're in a play, and your son and daughter is portraying the role of a king or queen. So that's personality. You're watching someone that you know that is on stage, but they are portraying another persona. So that's when you coach versus personality. And we go, their temperament and personality is everything, and they make decisions based on their personality. And partly it's right, but mostly it's wrong. Because the person that we know that comes off stage, and when they remove the makeup, that's called personality, is the makeup. It's the pizzazz that shows up, who I want to impress. It's lines that are used. It's emotion that is put into it. That's called your personality. It's the actor. And we make a mistake by thinking that our customers are actors. They're not. They are real people. So let me take you a little bit into the journey. So neuroscience is about this stuff. It's about 84 billion neurons, which is charged positively and negatively within it. There are different kinds of energies. So there's energy. So if you look at a synapses or an axon, which is one of these tubes, looks like a bicycle tube, and inside the tube are two very important things that are the binding factors of our biology and our intelligence. So first of all, there's intelligence in that tube, and there's intention in that tube. What differentiates us from the animal kingdom is those two things. We have got intelligence. It's cognitive, conscious intelligence. Animals don't have that. They're intelligent like a parrot to do things, to check things, etc. But the mind, the conscious mind, has intentionality built into it. So the moment you're working with a client, you need to realize I'm working with someone who is looking for intention. They have an intention. They had an intention to prescribe your services. They had an intention, and there was a journey before you arrived. And what we do in coaching using neuroscience is that we access their journey, walk along, and we help coach the things that they are paying attention to in their way. And we're not on a stage with them. I'm not coaching the king on the stage. I'm coaching the person who, before they put the makeup on, is the person that has a being, intentionality, intelligence, aliveness, soulfulness. So inside this energy over here, so inside the brain, I've got the little blue dots there to say, so the brain is the hardware and the blue is the conscious mind. So inside this conscious mind and in these 84 billion neurons, and they have been measured to an accuracy of 0.9 by Oxford and Stanford neurologists. They've used wonderful instruments that can do that, and it's about 90% correct, their answer. So we can take that to the bank and bank it. Because there's a lot of myths about neuroscience going around. There's 3 brains. Your heart is a brain. We've got a reptilian brain, and folks, we never evolved from a lizard. So that just should throw that one out. So, but we've got a very unique brain, which is the hardware, but inside the hardware is the neurology. So the neurology is made up of intelligence and intention, which in turn has certain frequencies. So there are basically 5 frequencies. So you get a delta frequency, which is waves that you can measure, and that's when you're drowsy and when you're sleeping. Then you get the theta brainwave, which is when you're drowsy. That's when you meditate, you go into a theta brain state. Alpha is when you are reflective. That's where you are now. You're reflecting and you're thinking, you're making comparisons as I'm talking. Beta is when we finished, when you're going to get busy with your day and you're going to start phoning clients and you're going to do your action list. And gamma is when I am totally active in terms of solving problems. So that's a very high frequency, a very, very high frequency. There are different kinds of energies in our brain that we can measure with all sorts of instruments. So there is electromagnetic energy. The magnetic energy we usually measure around the heart in the red blood cells because of the presence of iron and potassium and chromium. And we can measure these waves. They are actually about 6 meters around you. And Stanford have measured the movement in these brain waves by measuring red blood cells up to, I think it's between 7 kilometers away. So they put a person in a room, they watch a scary movie, and they watch how the magnetic energy changes with a movie. So we are literally magnetically connected with the rest of the world. And trees have it, nature has it. It was spoken in creation into everything. Then we have neuroenergy, and then we have food state energy. So when I've changed my counseling, I used to do a lot of counseling. That was when I used to love people. But I now counsel couples first on the energies. I'm going, so tell me about your physical energy. Tell me about your emotional energy. Tell me about the food that you're eating. What energy do you produce by the food that you eat? What energy are you producing by exercising and by resting and by sleeping, and through meditation and through reflection and etc. So that's food state energy. Then there's nuclear energy, and then there's chemical energy. Chemical energy is what we call epigenetics. So a thought, a feeling, and an action are all energy. The brain turns everything into energy. The neurology turns everything that we see, feel, hear, smell, taste, and experience into energy bytes. So, and that is called, so the energies are called potential, and there's 2 things that happens within energy. One is intensity and the other is speed. So when your client gets flustered, the intensity increases, the speed of things increase. And so we've got to be aware of our voice. We can slow down our voice and help you to become reflective. I'd like you to think about what you're looking at on the flip chart right now. So take a deep breath with me. And as you breathe out, I want you to notice, here's the neurons. They have intelligence and intention. There's brain waves. There's energy that creates those brain waves. And then over here, we have consciousness within us. This is also what makes us different to animals, in that we have a cognitive consciousness. We have a subconsciousness, and that's usually the in-tray. That's why you can't sleep at night, because your unconsciousness has paid attention to everything in your life, and it pops things that you're not paying attention to into this in-tray called your subconscious. And your subconscious is what keeps you awake at night. That's why you need to write down everything that you need to think about and do and pay attention to, so that you can get a message through to your subconsciousness and your unconsciousness that I am going to pay attention to. So there's intelligence in your consciousness to say you're thinking about things, you've thought about things, you've dreamt about that house that you want to get, dreamt about the investment, but you're not doing anything, so I'll pop it into your in-tray, and then it creates an energy of an emotion called anxiety or depression or fear. And our emotions are a language. So depending on what emotion, that will create the energy. That's what we've got to become aware of. So our first step is for you and I to become consciously aware. Then there's an amazing consciousness called creative consciousness, and that's where you are taking your clients and I'm taking our clients, because that's where their future lies. That's why they deployed your skills. So when we look at a person not as a personality, so there's the mountain they want to achieve, that's what they want. There's usually a snowstorm or whatever happens on the way and on the route towards the mountain, and we wanting to move towards there to get incentives. But then there's something which is called neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity is the end result of growth in my mind. It's the result of thinking, feeling, believing, and actions with my values that are all energy orientated, and neurons that are firing and they wire together. If I'm thinking negatively, all the other neurons that are negative are called into the party. If I'm thinking positively, all the other neurons are pulled into the party. But I've got to be paying attention to my response. So I can really pay attention to controlling my thinking, my feeling, and my actions. So that's what you're doing when you're coaching people in the world of finances. So here they are. And so here's the top, and we understand that a vision neurologically is attracted by meaning and feeling. So in the neurology, this is not personality now. In the neurology, when the subconscious mind picks up, I need to know how about wealth and finances, the brain creates what is known as agitation. So it stirs things up. It's not irritation, it's agitation. And we got to know the difference. And that happens automatically. Now, the moment agitation switches on in the neurology, there are 3 doors that present themselves and open up. And the neurology is asking 3 questions. Number 1, how long? How long do I stay in this state of not having enough money? How long will it take me to get enough money? And that's the difference between how long and how long, past and present, is called regrets. It's the difference between expectations that I have achieved and expectations that haven't been achieved. So here I am, I'm 69 years of age, and my greatest regret is I paid attention too late, 20 years too late, to my financial future. I made some silly mistakes in terms of retirement and annuities to make my business work. And here I am, and I now have to create new work and generate finances over the next 10 years so that I can have a livable future. So I'm not being chased by it anymore. I've chosen it will not chase me, but I've chosen that I will control it. Then the other door that opens up is the way. How am I going to get there? And then the other door that opens up, that the neurology is asking for, remember, there's intention that's working behind this, saying, so what's the result? And the result for the brain must be very clear. One day I want to be happy, one day I want to be rich, one day I want to be fulfilled, are all stupid goals for the brain, because the brain says, what does happy look like, feel like, and think like? So we've got to answer our neurology, because our neurology is intelligent and we need to be respectful of that intelligence. So neurology and neuroplasticity means the ability to grow. And here's a few things that we need to understand. We need to use it or we're going to lose it. So if you don't use your intelligence, your energy, the things that you're paying attention to, you will lose it. The brain switches off energy there. That's why when you break an arm, they put it in plaster, 6 weeks, they take it off. This arm is thinner than this one because the brain, the neurology said, I'm noticing this arm isn't moving, the fingers aren't moving as usual, so I'm going to save energy. So the whole thing about the protection of the neurology is that it wants to save energy. It's the most energy-saving process in the world is our neurology and our living mind. If I don't use it, I'm going to lose it. And if I don't use it and improve it, And that's called a comfort zone, the danger of a comfort zone, because it gets into the place of self-denial and self-belief, and I believe it's okay. But I'm living with this like flustered life. So it's like when you see that, that is a troop of zebra running past a lioness. And it's the way that God created the protection mechanism for zebra. And so the lion has to wait for the time where he says, oh, there goes two, or she says, there goes two zebra. Now she can make a choice and then attack. You'll never find a lioness attacking into the troop that's going like this. So our client's neurology is going like this. It's called chaos. And it makes the person feel my life is okay. You'll hear executives saying, no, I've got it. I've really got it. But they're not conscious. It's not a conscious, I know it, because that's what's happening in the brain. So coaching slows that down and says, now we need to get priorities. We need to get how you're going to invest. Are you going to get a house? Or you're going to put it in an investment? Are you going to do a savings plan, insurance, retirement, and annuities, etc.? So if I don't improve my skills as a coach, if I continue coaching the old way and focusing on personality, that's all the results I'm going to get. I'm going to have to work with this all the time. But neurology-focused coaching slows things down very powerfully. The brain is future-focused. So when you woke up this morning, you were lying in bed and you said, you had the picture of, I'm going to make a nice cup of coffee, or I'm going to go to the toilet and I'm going to feel totally relieved and far more comfortable, whatever that was. So the picture you had was of the future. And that's what we need to use every day. You mustn't click on your to-do list of yesterday and drag everything, because now you're dragging the neurology of the thinking of yesterday with you into today. You've got to think brand new about what you did yesterday, and by doing that, you've got to create a brand new future. But what attracts me about the cup of coffee is the feeling I get when I'm sipping that coffee, and when I'm finished drinking it. That feeling is called meaning in neurology. What'll a cup of coffee mean to me? And people buy your product not because of the intelligence of the analytical approach. They buy your product because there's a feeling generated that says, that's going to give me satisfaction. That's going to give me self-control. That's going to give me safety. And the feeling is what I need to sell. So Wimpy, they say you don't sell the burger, you sell the sizzle on the grizzle. So we've got to learn that when you sell to the neuromind, you are selling the sizzle, you're selling the feeling, and you've got to get the person to recognize that and literally feel it in their kinesthetic body. So we've got to bring a lot of focus and clarity and awareness into our coaching, and to help the person that we're coaching do that. And we've got to repeat and repeat and repeat until it becomes a habit. And then we've got to be intensely intentional in the way in which we coach people, and we're paying attention to intensity. So let's have a look at that. So I said in our definition, who are we? So here's the person. There's the brain, which is the hardware. The mind is the consciousness and the intelligence and the intuition and the intention. The ego and the personality, it's like, so there's the hardware is the brain. The DOS program is the mind, the conscious mind. And then we add onto it Excel, Word, and PowerPoint. And that is the psycho part of who we are. So the psychology, socio-spiritual part of us is where we've got our ego, and the ego and personality is the result of every thought, every action, every feeling within a context, and how the brain has stored all of that. And so the brain says, oh, you've done this before, and it adapts. So sadly, what I used to not understand was that personality adapts. So I'm dealing with a high D. They're always this, they're always, no, I'm going, no, there's never a point that you are always the same. Because the bill price you see now, in the way he's confident, etc., is different to the Bill Price when he's still his wife, whom he's been married to for 48 years, very interesting years, by the way, is chasing him down the passage with a rolling pin, and I'm screaming, "Ah!" And I dive under the bed, and she says, "Come out from under the bed." The Bill Price under the bed is different. He's going, "No, honey, it's fine. I'm waiting for you to calm down." And when you walk away and put the rolling pin down, so when you change the context, the personality adapts immediately. Why? Because there are two things in the neurology that is there for protection. Number one is survival. So I'm running away, surviving. And thriving is when there's a good vibe between the two of us in our relationship, and we're going, "Oh, so this is what it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be friends. We're supposed to be connected." So there's a psycho part of us, which is our personality and character. But we need to know that this is the actor on the stage. You're working with the actor on the stage, all right? You're working with the actor. Our neurology is that we've got a conscious mind that's got intention and intellect and energies and waves and frequencies, but there's also intellect built into here. But then we've got a biology, and I've described it up here as soulful living biology. So when the creator, I'm a creationist, so when the creator created us, he created the world by saying, "Let there be light, let there be this," and da-da-da-da-da-da, everything happens. But when it comes to man, he first reflects, goes into himself, talks to himself or the Godhead, and he says, "Come, let us make man," the Hebrew word is form, "in our likeness." Now, the word likeness, very interestingly, in the Hebrew language means like a photograph of me. So every man and woman is made in the likeness of the Creator. We are a photo reflection of who the Creator is. So that's why we've got to respect and honor our clients. And I honor them because of who they are. They are all. So I don't have a problem with diversity because my mindset is everyone that I'm dealing with, no matter what diversity comes to play, I don't mess with that. I just look at one thing. I'm looking at you. I'm giving you your respect. You are worthy. You are acceptable. You are honorable. And that's what I'm going to give you. So I've not had problems where I've been ever accused of being disrespectful in any diversity issues. But the biology is the stuff that's been built into this intelligent mind. So there are 13 brain intelligences. There's music, spatial, which is visual. There is analytical, there's mathematical, and many times the financial consultant thinks that they're going to sell the product by analytical and mathematical intelligence. But no. There's kinesthetic intelligence. I've got to feel it in my body. I've got to coach in such a way that you must feel it in my body, your product. There are 8 brain languages: see, feel, hear, smell, taste. Then there is connection. There's 7 brain languages, and then the other one is vestibular. Vestibular is the internet of the brain. There's direction, movement, momentum, pacing, timing. How are we getting there? That's the one door that says, how am I going to get there? And it's always sensing all of this information that's coming to it through this context and environment. They're thinking on 7, there are cognitive levels. So there are 7 levels of logical thinking. There are 7 levels of analytical thinking that we have to deal with. There's logical levels, which are linked to our being, and I'll share with them in a moment. We've got 20 cognitive biases. I'm busy helping coaching a PhD right now, and they've discovered 150. I'm going, oh, this is like, you're making it really complicated. But I've encouraged you at least to go take 150 and categorize them under the 20. So a cognitive bias is, I respect Dr. Bull. I like his energy. I am enjoying the lecture because he's making it interesting. And he's sharing stuff with me that's going, I'm going, wow, that's not, oh my goodness, I'm doing that, I'm not doing that. And so therefore, I believe him, and everything that he's saying, that's right. That's a cognitive bias. And it's not true. I sometimes mess up with some of the facts. There are 11 systems in our body. There's a circulation system, a sexual system, a respiratory system. There is a breathing system. There's bone structure. There is heart. There's your nervous system, your immune system, which COVID, the monkeys that are working around COVID didn't want to believe and said our immune system can't fight. And now all of a sudden they're back to it. Oh yes, we forgot. You do have an immune system. And before COVID came, it had already dealt with 10 to the power of 28 noughts viruses to date. So it's got the capacity and power. And then there are 24 filters that the brain has. So here I am, I'm coming to a client, and this is whom I'm about to coach. But there is a method that I have designed and worked with, along with some other folks. So this is what it looks like in the brain. So here I am, and I'm always in the now, but there's a past. So when you come as a coach, you've walked into a story that has, and that is already happening. I thought about this session in the past tense at 7 o'clock. It's now 7:30 or 8:30, whatever it is. So now this is the present, and this is the now. So I'd like you to breathe in with me, and breathe out, and breathe in and tighten your toes, tighten your leg muscles, tighten your bum, tighten your stomach, tighten your chest, put your arms, cross them, close your eyes, tighten your neck, pull every muscle in your face, breathe in, hold it for 4, and breathe out and relax everything. So every 19 minutes in our presentation, we need to do a short little exercise like this, because the subconscious, every 19 minutes in an adult, from the moment you start your presentation, says, please give me a break. I want to file this information now. And if I don't give it 30 seconds to 90 seconds of silence, my brain then goes, okay, so if you don't want to respect me, I will now shut off the energy of retention and concentration. And so every 19 minutes in your presentation, you need to do that. Because otherwise the brain will go, okay, so you don't respect me. I'll show you. I'll take away energy of concentration and retention. And for the next 11 minutes, they'll go fluffy and they'll go this, they'll do this now. And you're talking and you're so excited about your product and sharing the benefits, and that all their brain is hearing blah, 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 blah. So here I am now, in the now, and you felt at the moment you brought yourself into the now, and breathing helps people to bring them into the now. They're busy coming into this world called reality. So there are two kinds of reality. The one reality is the world reality, and my mindset helps create that. The environment creates that, and those are the risks that we face. So the environment, the economy, and all of that is messing with my program to sell this person the product. But in here is where they want to be, and there's a magnet called meaning that has positive and negative, and it attracts us. So whenever you have disparity with your client and they give an objection, the reason why there's an objection, and you can try and be analytically clever with objections and go on a course on how to handle objections, 7 easy steps, an escalator if you're lazy. But the objection is because there is disparity between my expectation here in my vision in the future and my present where I am now. So there's disparity, so there comes an objection. An objection is actually a question that the person is asking to help me align my internal reality, because there's something that is a mismatch. But what we've got to do is go, so do you like the product? Do you like what I've sold you? And the person says, yeah, and you hear that in tone of voice and you're going, okay. So what needs to change here about what you need to know, hear, and feel about the product that will draw you and attract you? So people, the worst book that was ever written was a book that was written, The Purpose-Driven Life or The Purpose-Driven Church. The brain is not driven. The moment you put driven into the neurology, you've got stress, and you've got cortisol, and you've got this. So what we want to have is self-control, calmness, clarity, reflection. That's what we want. So we got to ask the question, what needs to happen here in your thinking about your future that will attract you to take this particular project? So those are some of the questions that we will learn on the neuro selling course. So up here, the brain wants clarity in the future. And if it doesn't get clarity, then it goes fuzzy. So what does rich look like? I want to be a millionaire. I want to be a multi-millionaire. Write the figure down. What does it look like? What will your bank statement look like? And we need to become more visual in our presentation. So use a flip chart, left, right, a piece of paper. Left is always where we are. Right is always where we want to be. This is the journey. But now I'm using the brain languages. So there's agitation. So the person is here. They're wanting to move away from their past because that's the survival mode of the brain. So I don't want to be survival anymore. I want to thrive. I want to move towards over here. So I've got to intentionally create a vision in here that will attract me into there. So here's my cup of coffee is there before I've even drunk it. But there's also the meaning and cognitive emotion that goes, I'm going to drink that coffee and go, Frisco. And then you need to know you've got to change your coffee brand because that Frisco is not a coffee. This Armense Coca-Cola. So agitation has switched on how long. How long do I want to stay here? So when I used to counsel people, a couple come in and they say, we've had this problem, what. My second question is, how long have you had the problem? Now about 5-6 years. So they're unaware and they carry on with the problem for 6 years. Now they come to me for counseling and want it fixed in one coaching session. I'm not Jesus. So the reality is, then I ask the next question. So how long do you want to stay in the problem? And then I take a piece of paper and I draw a line and I'm going, okay, so this is the date. That's the end of the month. There's another month. And I draw the line and I look at them and I'm going, okay, stop me and tell me when do you want things to change? So that's creating a sense of urgency. So that's a little neuro trick and tool neurologically that you can use. When do you want to buy this product? And draw the line and watch them, look at them in their eyes and pay attention to their right eye. Because the right eye is the leading eye. So you focus with both your eyes on the person's right eye and go, so when do you want to buy the product? And they're going, no, stop. I want it by the end of the month. So there's momentum that's happening and the people are asking questions about your product and they focus on your product. You've given them a story and they're asking, so what's the momentum going to be? What's our relationship going to be? Because there's a big thing called connection that you'll see on another slide here. But the filters that the brain is going through is big picture, process, detail. So the big picture is that's where we're headed. We're going to Durban. The process is we're going on the highway. We'll go to Harrismith. We'll then go to Pietermaritzburg. There'll be Howick. And then we'll see Durban. That's process. Detail is we're sitting in the car, we're eating nuts, we're watching, we're listening to music, hopefully not Buddha music, and we're moving on because that will just irritate. It changes agitation to irritation for me. All right. So when we're coaching the neurology, I'm coaching them first on tell me what will it mean to you if you have financial success. So that's not clarity, that's broad. So let's unpack financial success. I am financially successful when I've got 3 houses, I've got 2 insurance policies, I've got a hospital plan, I've got whatever. And there's always positive and negative about it. So there's never, let's just be positive. That's toxic. And let's just be negative, that's also toxic thinking. So we want positive and negative in relationship to a new reality. So here's the reality that I'm facing now. It's unfolding, but I am being coached towards a new reality over here. I'm being coached towards that. Coffee is lekker. And that is my meaning and my expectations. So all along, my brain wants to have connection. So connection is the other thing that's in our neurology, because we're magnetically connected with everybody and everything. We are having connection right now, even although it's a hybrid meeting. And I'm not looking in your eyes, but I am looking into the lens and paying attention to who you are on the other side. So you want to be seen and heard as a client. So you over here, and here's your client, there's your product that you've sold them. Here's a few things that you need to understand about the demands of the neurology. The neurology says, I'm going to buy from you based on a set of values. I buy a car. The car I bought was because of economy, because of safety, because of reliability. I didn't buy a BMW. I used to have a Merc, but I sold it because it was just too expensive. I mean, for goodness sake, to replace a rear view mirror is 3,000 Rand. So I'm going, forget it. So I went and I bought Kia. And so I don't care about, it's not my prestige that I must ride around in a BMW and feel good, but I've got to have the air conditioning on to keep me calm because I'm in overdraft. And so the ego will play that game. And there's lots of people who are living on overdrafts and credit and all that stuff because of their ego. They're not listening to their neurology. So the product, the person buys the product because of two sets of values. One set is, that's what I need. So financial success will be when I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then aftercare, there's a second set of values. And with my financial advisor, who I'm thinking of firing, is now there's a second set. And I told him, I said, when you're going to contact me, I want you to just give me the bare details. Don't send me 10 pages reports of the economy and give me shareholding and ups and down graphs. I'm not, they don't mean a thing to me. I'm not interested in that. Tell me, I deposited X amount. How much am I going to make? Can I take that money and put it into a bank and achieve the same results? So there's two sets of values, but your voice and your presence are critical in the story to create connection. Keep the person connected to their meaning and their vision and their new reality and the sizzle factor, connected to themselves and their value. Client number one. So this is your client. Client number one bought a living and annuity product from you. In 2019, deposited 401,924 Rand into an account, and there were promises made at this store. Ooh, I'm going to service you. I'm going to be there for you. I'm listening to you. You are more auditory orientated, so I'm going to call you. You're visual orientated because I'm going to give you a short little. But I am big picture orientated. This person's big picture orientated, so give it to me in big pictures. Give me a summary, and this is a summary that I'm interested in. So say this is me, and or one of your clients. So in 2019, 401. There, in between 2019, 2021, twice, the person received 10 pages of information. This is the shares, this is the market, this is COVID, the Kremlin sneeze, shares drop, this drop, that drop, this is how. Never explained how my money is connected to the shareholding of the world and Chinese having rice or not having rice, and it's affecting the flow. But in 2021, after transfers of two different companies, because stuff happens in the world of companies, there is now 430 Rand, 430,330 Rand. In 2020, and there's no information in here, never contacted. In actual fact, this person contacted the broker to say, COVID has struck, I can't, what am I going to do? And then they decided, okay, you can take 2.5% of this investment and you get paid 891.54 a month, which has affected that 430 to drop to 409, where we're now at. So I'd like you to think about this. If this client is yours, what what are you going to suggest? So please open the mic and just let's have a short discussion on 43 minutes. So what would you do, knowing now the neurology? Agitation, the person is looking for what's the momentum? So there's the momentum. That was the end result. And the person is comparing, so it's dropped 30,000 Rand. Or 21,000 Rand. So you can show my mathematical intelligence is dear Makar. So there's a perceived drop. Would you tell the person now, do you have enough finances now not to have that anymore? You can sign a document saying, I don't want to have that, I want to have that now reinvested in there for this to grow. Would you, and you can't do anything with this living annuity, you can't cash it out or anything like that because there's 1,000 rules, which they never told this person about. So where do you think this client is and how are you going to coach this person? I wrote in my notes, pause, let the financial people sweat. Or not. And you can maybe ask a question. I'm wondering what, in your next appointment with this person, what are you going to say? So you sent in these results on an A4 Word document.
Can I try?
Yes, please.
So the thing is so I've been running marathons for the last how many years, and there's one principle that you have to follow. You can't wait till you're thirsty before you start taking water. And it feels like the expectations should have been managed from the start in a better way. To try to solve this thing now or fix it, I think it's too late. A person running a marathon, if he starts feeling thirsty, he's already started being dehydrated. So you can't then rewind the clock kind of thing, and that's why I kind of feel with this. You have to educate and manage expectations from the start and not create expectations. You can't focus on the growth and the product. You must focus on the journey and how you're going to help the client and help them understand what they're in for. I think that's the biggest problem. A lot of advisors, they're always focused on the product and not on the person.
Well, that's a lovely observation. So from your experience as a financial coach, Dion, what would you advise this client?
At this stage or from the start?
Okay, so this is their reality. That's what they've now got.
Okay.
And if they continue with it, that's going to grow and it's going to be possibly less in the next 2 years or whatever. So can they stop that so that it can be kept there in capital and we can have capital growth there? And then what would we do? Look at other ways of creating money in the business, other ways of creating profit or whatever, but there's got to be a practical. So this is a reality that we can't change because it is what we are.
Again, the advisor really started out wrong, but the problem is, again, you're now focusing on the figures. You need to fix something else. You have to take the client through some kind of a process to let them see it differently. To continue focusing on the figures, you're not going to solve anything. Nothing's going to change.
Okay. What would you focus on other than figures then, Dee? I'm not trying to catch you out. I'm just asking.
No. So again, I would have approached it totally differently. For me, I would want to take clients through a lifetime program. And yes, the figures are important. Details are important. In the end of the day, it needs to support the plan. But the focus must be on the plan. And the expectations must be managed so that the client must understand, yes, there might be times, depending on whatever risk portfolio they invested in, there are going to be years where there are going to be negative growth, but they are kind of expecting it, and it's already been built into the plan, and they're comfortable with the advisor. They come with advice, And that feeling you were talking about, to try to create now a feeling for the client at this stage in 2022, it's totally too late.
Okay.
That advisor probably will be fired, and the client will go and try to find another solution.
All right. So what I'm hearing you say is that, so there is a reality over here. So as a coach, we now, what I'm hearing is being said, we now have to work with this client to work with a new reality and maybe create a second parallel road. But all the time, my voice and my presence and my expertise and my knowledge, and I rock up here as a coach to calm the agitation that's going on in the brain because of that journey, and going, look at what you've got. That's what you've got. So give a scenario. So when you die, your wife will be able to use this money in the following way. We'll be able to withdraw so much. We'll be able to get so much a month, whatever, out of it. So you're working on their values because his wife is very important to him. His children are very important to him. Look at other stuff. So the parallel is you've got a life insurance so that when you die, so the answer is die. I'm only joking. But when you die, some of the values that you've got for your family are going to be met. But there's other things. So let's have a look at your business and let's look and see how can you create more capital? How can you create more profit? How can you create money? So I have to move and shift this person in creative consciousness. So the creative consciousness is always on the right side. So that's why it's a right top, because that's where creative consciousness is on a piece of paper. When the brain sees it, 90% of the time it's top right. So we've got to create a new product up here that we convinced in to begin to create down here and go, I'm now going to create another path. Another option, which is like a wild card, is play the lottery. And don't be like the Jewish rabbi says, God, what is happening to me? Don't you love me? For 5 years in a row, I've been doing the lotto and wanting to win the lotto. What is happening? And a voice from heaven comes and he says, Jaime, do me a favor, buy a ticket. So you can throw wild cards in here. You can go, I can look at, and so we've got to go options. And options is one of the 24 brain filters. And we've got to go big picture, process, detail of a new inventive journey that I've got to help them in connection to meaning of the future, the coffee taste and the experience of the coffee up here. And I've got to sell the sizzle of a new journey for them to buy into and calm the brain down in terms of that life retirement policy and annuity, because that's reality. Reality is reality. That's what we're working with people in a coaching situation. So I'd like to hear from you in closing. What are the three things that you heard that was unique and different? So I'd like you to write that down. What were three things that you heard in today's presentation that was unique and different? And then I'd like you to answer this thought. How can what I've heard in terms of neuro coaching add to my business and my relationship with my clients? So the one question is, what three things that I learned? It was like an aha. And then if I had to add neuro to it, to my life, what impacts would be different? What approaches would be different? Would it be profitable, sustainable? Don't know. Okay. Who'd like to go first? Share with us the first three things that were interesting to you, and then you're going to nominate the next speaker. So don't take longer than a minute to share this information, please. Thank you. Okay, who'd like to go next? Going, wait, I'm writing.
I'll hop in.
Thank you. Let's go for it.
Thanks.
Well done.
Thank you. The three things I made a note of were the creative consciousness in the top right. So the idea of if you've got visuals that you're heading in that direction. The idea of talking about, not just what is the problem and how long have you had it, but how long do you want to stay in it, and drawing that as well, and then tracking their eyes in that conversation. Yeah, that stood out for me. And I can't remember the details of your second question, but I got a lot of affirmation from what you shared today, that our process, we're doing a lot of this already with our clients. So we're on the right track. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Appoint the next person.
Oh, who wants to go next? Renato, are you still there?
Hi there. Yeah, thanks. For me, it was just that reminder again of how each person is different. I always say we need to use the language of the other person. And this is just the reminder again of how different this has been for me, in how many ways they can be different. With for me, the picture that you had of all the biology on all those different levels, how people can be different. Yes, we've got all these different tools on reminding us how different people are, but for me, that biology is, we often forget. And apart from that is also people bring into the meeting where they are at that point. You mentioned, are they in that happy zone or in the survival zone? They're running away from the rolling pin. So we often forget that as well. We don't know what they're bringing into that meeting at that particular point. So to stay clear of, or to also bear that in mind. You may have figured out who that person is, but at that particular moment when they're coming to that meeting, they may be the different version on that particular day. And just that reiteration of use it or lose it. We use it every day, that saying, but do we really, are we always mindful of exactly what it means? So, and then how that would be different in business is, yeah, just to be mindful that there are so many more ways that people can be different than what we think. So that's for me. I'll nominate Cindy because she's right next to me on the screen. Cindy, you muted.
Yes, I know. Thank you. So yeah, I really love the idea that you started on the bottom left and you created a connection to the future in drawing form. I think that's really powerful. And also the creation I called it creation theory. For me, it's like creating opportunities. And that really gelled with me. I get all of your analogies and why you're saying about the creation. So that really was very impactful to me. And then I know about silence. I'm not good at silence, but the fact that the brain will switch off or, disconnect for 19 or however many minutes you said after 19 minutes, that's really, really powerful. I think it will cause me to remember to be silent. And then also the next question about the neurocoaching, I think that visual for me, just to remember, I've just seen my nephew be on a stage and be in a big role. And so that king on the stage is a very good analogy for me to remember that I'm not coaching that. I'm coaching a far more complex situation.
Wow, that's interesting. Thank you very much. Insightful feedback. Thank you.
Susan.
Well, Dr. Price, though, unfortunately the meeting ended at 9, so people are falling off. And I just want to know if you wanted to say something before most people are gone. I know you want to get the closing done, but just wanted to let you know.
We are busy with the closing. It's making your discoveries, so that's the closing.
All right.
So the people that fall off will get the recording anyway. So folks, I'll close with this, you as a financial coach, there are three strategies that I want to suggest you pay attention to. First of all is personal strategy. I need to become consciously aware, far more consciously aware, that I'm busy coaching neurology rather than personality. There's a big shift that needs to take place there. Second, so your voice, your presence, your being, your expertise, your competencies, the coaching competencies of COMENSA, I've got to be playful with them, using my skills and weaving all of that into one to make an impact to get the person there. The second strategy is your selling strategy, because I'm selling on values, I'm not selling on benefits. That's a big difference. I know the coffee. I know the coffee taste is good for me. That's valuable and important to me. But the benefits is it's quenching my thirst or putting a caffeine shot within me or whatever. There's the difference between benefits and values. And the brain doesn't buy on benefits. The brain buys on values. So I need a selling strategy. And then I need an after sales strategy, which I really need to ask intelligent questions of. So you've said yes to the product, but you've also saying yes to me. What must I do so that I can maintain the relationship with you as a client on the road ahead? How must I email? When must I call? What must the format look like? What's the momentum? What's the pacing? What's the timing? What must I focus on? You can call me when you feel irritation. You can call me when you feel agitation, and I can talk to you and pay attention to you. So it's intentional, it's conscious. And if you do those three strategies, of course, you know your product, strategy of yourself, strategy of selling, and strategy of customer relationship, which is now in your mind for neuroscience called customer engaged connection. So it's not relationship management, that's personality. I'm in connection with Estelle, and that connection is the DNA of what we call our relationship between us. So thank you for your time and energy. I'll be sending you a copy of these notes. So you'll get them in a Word document, and then you can play the recording again and again and again and again. And yeah, sometime in the future, you're going to hear about a neuroscience coaching course where we'll teach you to use all the stuff that I have put. What I've shared on this presentation is the stuff that neuro-financial guides are made of. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you. Thank you for your absorption rate. Thank you for the sponges that you absorbed everything. I feel drained, but I feel excited. And I want to honor you, honor your business, and I want to bless your business with focus and clarity and prosperity and profitability and sustainability into the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Price, for spending this time with us. I think it was incredibly interesting, very valuable. So thank you for taking the time out and availing us that time. Yeah, I'm sure that there will be lots of contact. When they send the recording out as well to the bigger group, then we just need to make sure that we can get hold of you, which I think Hendrik will have all of those details anyway. So I think we've got everything.
Most definitely.
Okay.
Most definitely.
Right. No, that's great. Okay.